Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today I want to talk to you briefly about the joy and folly of using the Leica S medium format DSLR for street photography. Joy, because the image quality and medium format perspective advantages compared to full frame are sublime. The industrial design and build quality unrivaled, and the handling wonderful for what it is. Folly, because even though it's smaller and lighter than my Canon 1D by 1/4 of a kilo, when you mate any of the spectacular Leica S lenses to it, that sucker will wear you down over the course of a late afternoon on the streets of London. I know. And costs as much as a tiny house. But to be clear, price is not the subject of this segment, and street photography is not the primary use case for a camera like this, but it is what I wanted to explore as mirrorless technology takes an ever larger piece of the camera market, remembering that in my distant youth, well, middle age, my go-to was another DSLR, a Canon EOS 3 35mm film camera at 780 grams body alone, and another 880 for the 28 to 72.8L. Call it 1.6 kilos altogether. Contrast that with my go-to street kit today, the mirrorless APS-C Leica CL with the TL3514 at just about half. And compare both of those to the S Typ 007 with Summit 72.5, which tips the scales at 2 kilos. Or with the Elmrit 45 2.8 instead, a jump just to over 2.25 kilos. The CL with a field of view equivalent 23 f2 Summicron T is less than 1/4 the weight, just under 600 grams. The hard reality is that with so many of today's mirrorless cameras ranging from the IBIS-equipped micro 4/3 Panasonic GX9, GH5, and G9, Leica's own APS-C TL2 and CL, and the outstanding Fujifilm APS-C range of XT, XH, and X Pro cameras, to the IBIS-equipped full-frame cameras from Sony, Nikon, and Panasonic, the non-IBIS Canon R or Leica's own SL, it is possible to get superb image capture. There's just no two ways about it. These newer systems, with faster and surer autofocus, much lighter weight, WYSIWYG EVFs, and image stabilization in body, in lens, or both combined, can actually surpass the S in many scenarios, especially when muscle fatigue or fast-moving subjects are the order of the day. Heck, even in a studio, pixel shifting technology can do wonders when coupled to a micro 4/3 sensor-equipped camera like the G9, let alone a full-frame Sony A7R3 or the new Panasonic S1 at 42 and 47.5 megapixels, respectively. And while the S is nominally capable of DCI 4K video, it's just not the right tool for video, full stop. It makes more sense to pick up an SL, even a CL, and adapt those gorgeous S lenses to them. Though credit is due, both of these newer and much smaller mirrorless cameras inherit much of the S's DNA, most especially the SL. Still, without pixel peeping, oh my God. The colors and tonality of the S Typ 007 grabbed me by the throat, so much so that even the occasional blur of a too slow shutter speed or a tiring hue did nothing to diminish my joy at the photos you saw at the beginning in the intro. IQ is drop-dead gorgeous. The single-lens reflex optical viewfinder is big and beautiful. The image projected onto it, not gated by the dynamic range limitations of an EVF, but instead your own eyes. And as I suggested a moment ago, the tactile qualities and directness of the camera are a very rare treat. Taken together, they make it my favorite DSLR of all time. Which is not to say that a $3,000 Nikon D850, for example, is not a dramatically more cost-effective system, because it is. Nor to say that the difference in image quality between the 37 megapixel sensor of the Typ 007 and the 45.7 megapixel sensor of the D850 or A7R3 at 42 or Panasonic S1 at 47.5, the R, is proportional to the more than 5 times the price 20,000 S, because it isn't. Or, for that matter, from the mirrorless Hasselblad X1D to the Fujifilm GX50S and R, there aren't far less expensive, pretty darn close medium format alternatives that offer their own compelling advantages, because there are. Or that even an iPhone is not a more accessible video tool, because it is. But then this camera, first, second, and third, is about photography, a special niche of photography. And the facts that, well, 10/10ths performance, 10/10ths satisfaction, or 10/10ths joy are always in the eye of the beholder, that the difference between the best and very best in any endeavor is never proportional to the amount spent to get there. It's simply not the measure by which the people who buy the very best judge or even define the turn. 10 years on from launch, with the body and ergonomic master stroke first crack out of the barrel, a full and mature lineup of brilliant optics, and a new 64 megapixel S3 on the way, it's fair to say that Leica's medium format S system remains well beyond the reach or rational desire for most. But the only way to go for a select few, it was a privilege to give it a spin. Oh, one more thing. You knew I'd tell you that this episode was shot on the S, right? DCI 4K with the Summit S 70mm f2.5 spherical. I just had to do it. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below. You guys continue to be just incredible, knowledgeable, inspiring, funny. I mean, you're a joy, truly. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Grab one or both of our new Hold That Thought t-shirts you wanted us to put up at our new 3BMEPthreadless.com store. Support our work by using our affiliate links down below in the show notes, dropping us coffee money via our PayPal link down below in the show notes, or even better than that, we invite you to become a patron of our work over at Patreon. Link down below. We've created our Patreon page because we are stoked to bring you not only gear reviews, but with our What Were You Thinking and Good World Gone Bad series, historical, educational, artistic morsels, and longer form conversations, not interviews, with world-class photographers, curators, gallery owners, keepers of the legacy, folks like Elliot Irwitt, Anya Sear, Mark Lubell, Etheline Staley, and friends like Brian Smith, Paul Giroux, Nino Rakicevic, and more. We'd really like you to join us to deliver this kind of content regularly. Your support on Patreon will really help us ramp it up. In which case, as always, we thank you for it. That's it. For Three Blind Men and an Elephant, I'm Hugh Brownstone. See you next time.